couple of my friends, and we had these debates and arguments about Spider-Man No Way Home, things that worked, things that didn't work. Now, Spider-Man No Way Home came out last year, and it focuses on the aftermath of the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, in which Mysterio told the world that Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and Peter Parker basically killed him. So now the whole world knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Lord have mercy, I'm always yawning. But anyways, so now Spider-Man goes. Peter Parker ends up going to talk to Doctor Strange about pretty much erasing everybody's memories of him being Spider-Man, so that he can live a normal life. And there's other things that go into it, including like his Aunt May, his friends. But when Doctor Strange ends up performing the spell, he's ended up messing up on the spell, and it fractures the universe, and now we got the multiverse. So now they have to deal with that. Now, before we continue on with this video, guys, be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. Now, let's go ahead and continue on with the video. Now, for those who did, when the movie dropped and I gave my initial review of it, I ranked my movies in two categories. One, is it an entertaining movie? And two, is it a good movie? Spider-Man No Way Home is not a good movie from a writing standpoint. It's an entertaining movie. I was very entertained with it. There were some really cool moments in it. It has some really cool action scenes. There was some decent humor, but I found it more entertaining than actually writing-wise a good movie. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's weird how I'm sitting here constantly yawning in front of the damn camera, but then again, I didn't get that much sleep, and I woke up pretty early. But anyways, I found it to be a pretty entertaining flick. Now, in my initial review, I did give it a 5 out of 5. Do I still stand by that? Again, yes, I do, because it was very entertaining. But if we're looking at the logistics of it, the things that make it click, the acting, the direction, choices made when it came to the writing and stuff like that, it's a pretty bad movie. I feel it's like Avengers Endgame. Although it is an entertaining movie and it wrapped up a lot of really cool subplots and stuff like that concerning the story itself as well as the characters, very entertaining. The big battle at the end, what led up to it, very entertaining, very satisfying ending. But ultimately, the writing is what kills the movie. We just said the writing kills the movie pretty much. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I liked Spider-Man No Way Home. I really, really did. But like I said, just the writing itself was pretty bad. Now, there are a lot of good things that this film does have, and a lot of good things that this film has established. The idea of a multiverse, I feel, is pretty cool. But I think that, and yes, this is leading to Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. Sorry, guys. Jesus Christ. And I've been in front of this computer for like 20 minutes and I didn't yawn. Yes, because I'm supposed to, I guess I got like low iron or something. It runs in the family. So I hear. So maybe that's the thing. But anyways, there's a lot of good that came out of Spider-Man No Way Home. I guess this will be the good, the bad, and ugly type of video for those who. Now, if you like the movie, I understand. I'm not mad at you on that. Like I said, I do like the movie. It just ultimately there's a lot of problems I have with it. But going to the things that I did really like about it, some of my favorite sequences in the film concerning the relationship that you see between MJ and Peter. I do like that the film focuses on it. I do feel that this film nails it a bit more about the evolution of their relationship and where they started and how far they've come. And yes, I don't think it was strong enough in the first two films, but but I think it works better because it is the evolution over time about their relationship. So it it feels much smoother in this film. It feels like there's much more of a connection between these two. There's definitely a lot of chemistry between Zendaya and Tom Holland. You can definitely feel it in the film. So I really enjoyed the fact that they focused on the relationship and it did flow a lot better. I liked, man, one of my favorite scenes from the movie actually is when Doc Ock first shows up and him and Peter Parker, him and Spider Man have this really badass fight sequence in the on the highway. And it seems like the best fight sequences Spider Man's had in any of these movies is the Doc Ock fights because the fight he had in Spider Man 2 where he was on top of scaling the building, that fight was absolutely badass. The fight with him on the train, definitely badass. And I am on the point to where I think this fight sequences on the bridge is actually, if not as good as the train fight, probably almost even better because it's so fast paced and it shows how badass Doc Ock is as a character, especially with the arms and how diverse he is. And that's one thing I will say. All of the fight sequences show just how diverse both the characters are. So I did like that aspect of it. Green Goblin's presence in the movie also is just really good. It's really done well, and this shows you just how menacing a character that the Green Goblin really is. And I really appreciated that they stuck to that. It's like a good continuation of what we saw in the first film, especially since I think that he's a bit more reserved in that one, but in this one he just leans into it a little bit more. So Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is just freaking awesome, and it's nice to also see some of the. I like the fact that, spoiler alert, because at this point, everybody knows. Definitely the introduction of Andrew Garfield as well as Tobey Maguire, their versions of Peter Parker / Spider-Man into the MCU definitely was well warranted. It was great. It was awesome. You got to all of the speculation just came through, and it's like, yes, definitely. They had some really good moments. They had really moving moments. I like the action sequence at the end, although I have my problems with it, but it was just nice seeing these characters interact with each other, seeing these characters have their special, unique talents, their different points of view, how the other films and the events in those films shape themselves and help to shape ultimately Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So it's just great seeing those like moments like that. There's a really cool fight that's kind of like in this apartment building. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Some of the designs I thought were really good as well, especially kind of the updated design of Doc Ock. He was really cool. Kind of what they did with Green Goblin, kind of. I liked that Doctor Strange was in the film, and I liked that what happens ultimately is pretty much not really his fault because Doctor Strange is a pretty badass character from what I've seen in the movies. I like them more in the movies than I like them in the comics and in the animated stuff. I feel like he just fucking lame in those. But in the movie, he actually does some pretty cool stuff. The fact that it's this multiverse thing he has to deal with with Peter Parker. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Y'all just got to get used to it. I'm sorry. I can't stop it. I think it's actually pretty cool. And kind of like there's this kind of back and forth. I don't want to say the fight between Doctor Strange and Peter Parker, but okay, that's pretty cool as well. I thought that was actually a pretty cool sequence. And ultimately, one of the best sequences in the film. And I do feel like Marvel is starting to lean into too much cameo type stuff. Because there's one, was it Shang-Chi? Yeah, like in Shang-Chi, there's a sequence where Abomination is sparring with Doctor Strange's homeboy. Can't remember his name right now. But I was like, what was the point of that scene? What was the point of him being in the movie? Didn't make any sense. But unlike that scene. Oh, Wong. The guy's name is Wong. That's right. Unlike that scene in Shang-Chi, Charlie Cox's Daredevil makes a cameo in this film, and it actually feels like it's well warranted. It makes sense for his character to be in the film because he is a lawyer, and Peter lawyers up. So that I think that would have been pretty. I think that's actually pretty cool. But for the most part, and also another thing I will say too, I like the fact that this film does focus on the villains. I do like having villains have a bit more backstory, have a bit more of their motivations and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people didn't like Jamie Foxx in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I actually liked his character. I enjoy characters like that. I enjoy characters that pretty much come from nothing, have nothing, or losers. They get power and then they just ultimately just go loose with it. It's one of the reasons I like Megamind so much, because the cameraman was in that position. He got powers, then he became Titan. So I do like characters like that. I do, because when I was in school, I felt like that. And right now, I'm even saying if I ever got superpowers, I would just straight up become a straight up villain. Like that would be the fastest turn of somebody into a villain like ever. So I feel like I like characters like that. And Sherpa is on point. It is keeping me. It's probably this damn Sherpa making me, because it's so damn comfortable. But anyway, see, got it, caught it. But anyways, there's a lot that can be said about that. Now, one of the things I can ultimately, I'll keep saying ultimately, but there's a couple other things that I thought actually worked in the film as well. But there are a lot of things that I did not like about this film, and it made me so freaking mad, because the writing had the potential to be so much more and deliver so much more to this film and introduce so much more, since they're trying to do this whole multiverse thing. Because I'm like, if this is the multiverse thing, you might as well just lean all the way into it. The whole point of bringing back some of these other characters from the other two franchises is a good idea, but the film went about it in the laziest way possible. I was arguing with, again, my homeboy, and he's like, and I was like, if this is a multiverse, say there's 100 universes, why in the hell, when he breaks the seal, he only gets characters from 2 of those old universes? Now, my homeboy made the argument that because those were pre-established to us as an audience, that we know that there's different universes film-wise. So if you go by the Tobey Maguire, if you go by the Andrew Garfield, hell, if you add in your old one that came out in the 80s or 90s, those would be like 3 different universes. But the characters in the MCU don't know that. So why do they only pull from 2? It's not like they pull Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire from their universes and one of their villains from each of their universe, and then 3 or 4 more from other universes into the film. They literally just pulled all of these characters from 2, and then the logic behind it didn't really make sense either, because it was like everybody that knows who Peter Parker is. But I'm like, okay, Willem Dafoe knew who Peter Parker was, but he died. Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, knew who Peter Parker was as Spider-Man, but then he died. The Lizard knew who Peter Parker was. He didn't die. Sandman ended up finding out who Peter Parker was. He didn't die. Electro never knew who Peter Parker was, and he died. So I'm like, is this? But so that was one of the things. So it's like, if they all knew that he was Peter Parker, that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, then by that logic, and you breach those 2, and I guess those are the closest ones, So why wasn't Mary Jane brought back? Kirsten Dunst, why was her Mary Jane not brought back? And then there's a thing because it felt like there was a time, like they were doing time travel with it as well, because they took William Dafoe, whose character died, I think, 8 years. He died in the like 8 years, I think, to the current timeline. So how did he get brought back? Wouldn't that it be? Would it make more sense for his character to be brought back? Well, wouldn't it make sense for possibly Sandman to be, because he's in the current timeline? I'm assuming that there's a current timeline across the board, and wouldn't it be just Tobey Maguire, Sandman, possibly? That's about it. Maybe the Lizard, because they're still alive. So I don't understand. I still don't understand. It's like they pulled them. And I get it. A lot of the movies that they're doing nowadays is cameos and fan service. It's Spider-Man No Way Home is nothing but fan service. People love the Green Goblin, wanted to see Green Goblin get brought back. People love Doc Ock, want to see Doc Ock be brought back. But honestly, it doesn't really make sense. And then if we're going about a lot, and then they said, all of these characters like died and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Electro, if they're going by the logic of people, they said that everybody that knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man got brought in. Why was Electro there? Because Electro shouldn't have been there. And why wasn't Eddie Brock there? And I'm not talking about the Eddie Brock because even with that, okay, Eddie Brock from the Sony movies, why was he there? He was, and then what doesn't make sense is, why was he in Cuba? All of the other ones got pulled to the same city. Why was he all the way in Cuba? Why wasn't his character pulled there too? Now, I guess it depends where you are that you get pulled there, because I'm thinking, because I guess they were all in the city, but I guess they were all in the same city, but just in different universes. Where Eddie Brock wasn't in the city, he happened to be in like Cuba or whatever, in the Caribbean somewhere. So instead of him being pulled into the city, he was pulled into the equivalent of that Caribbean place in that universe. So I'm like, okay, but why wasn't Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3 there? Why wasn't James Franco character brought back then? If we're going by people who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Hell, why didn't they bring back Gwen Stacy's dad then? Because he ended up finding out. Why wasn't Gwen Stacy brought back? So, like, if we're going by people that knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man, wouldn't all of those characters get brought back as well? Okay. And if we're going by characters, and if we're going by time, like going through time, because you have to go through time to bring back 2 characters that died, 3 characters that died, because it pulled from each movie, which are different time periods. So that means Eddie Brock should have been brought back. Gwen Stacy should have been brought back. Gwen Stacy's dad should have been brought back. Why wasn't why wasn't not Norman Osborn, his son, the guy James Franco played, Harry Osborn? Why wasn't the Harry Osborn from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 brought back? I would have liked for him to got brought back, because we've already had And that's what I'm saying. Like this is what that's what I'm saying. That's that stuff like that is an issue. I feel like that could have worked out better as in the story if his character got brought back and he would have been the Green Goblin. Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but fuck that. I think, and that could have been a good bit of closure for his story. But I guess I'm on the thing because I'm like, okay, if it's people that know he's Peter Parker, then it would technically be the current storyline, and it means people that are alive now should have got pulled into it. Why wasn't his Green Goblin? Because he's still alive. Why wasn't he pulled into it? It would have made more sense if they'd have brought him back rather than you know Willem Dafoe. Now I love Willem Dafoe; he does a great job as a character, but ultimately it doesn't really make sense for him to have been brought back. So that, and then another thing is when they showed all of these people that knew who Peter Parker is, Spider-Man, I'm thinking to myself, not that many people. If why in the hell do all of these villains or characters or whatever? Why the hell do all of these people know he's Spider-Man? It's like saying the same thing happens to Batman. It's like how many villains actually know that Bruce Wayne is Batman? I don't. Even if you do a multiverse thing, I don't believe it's going to be a whole army of people. But so outside of, and then on top of that, one of the biggest disappointments I felt like this movie did was to have Sandman in it, because Sandman wasn't a villain. I mean, I get his motivation in the film for why he's doing what he's doing, but why was he brought back? I would have liked it, like his character should have been Eddie Brock's character. His character should have been the Green Goblin. I can't remember the guy, the one from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Or they could have just took his character out and could have just took that screen time and effort and put into that. His character should have been a character from another dimension, another universe. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I like the movies, but it's like, okay, if we're gonna do that, then if it's people that know that Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, if they're going by the regular timeline without time traveling, because you can break the dimensional barrier but not go through time, then it should have been from the Tobey Maguire movie, Tobey Maguire, Sandman, Amazing Spider-Man movie, Andrew Garfield, Lizard. If they have to have these group of villains and stuff, they could have picked 4 villains from four other universes, and I think that would have been pretty cool to have seen that. All of that time that they took out, they could have introduced something new, but they didn't. And it goes back to the nostalgia that I say that it's just nostalgia bait. I don't like that because it ruins. I mean, because think about it, it's called a multiverse. What's the point of saying something's a multiverse when you don't use it? It doesn't make sense. If you go back and watch Into the Spider-Verse, yeah, that's a multiverse. They didn't pull 3 Spider-Man, 3 characters from one universe. They pulled 1 character from each universe. That makes sense. But that's not all. Another issue that that's a rabbit hole. It really is. But one other issue that I had with the film was, and I knew it. I said it when the trailer dropped. I knew it that I was going to freaking do this. They introduced the fact that Mysterio exposed Peter Parker to the world, and they did not use that to its fullest potential. You had people like celebrate him and stuff like that. Cool. You saw some of the ramifications of people knowing who he is. People, treating him like a celebrity at school. The fact he couldn't get to college because of his infamy. How it affected his friends and loved ones. People threatening him and his family and stuff like that, and them having to kind of basically go into protective custody to a certain extent, which is kind of stupid because I'm like, wait a minute, why is Happy doing this? Why isn't like the feds or something doing this? The fact that They brought up legal charges and stuff like that as well. Like that was pretty cool. And